Last week we talked about eyes and noses, and today I'm going to demonstrate how to draw a mouth. A few things that you should notice about the mouth. You can think of the top like a bird wing, so it's lower in the middle, it raises in two directions and then out to tips. The bottom part is usually fuller, and you can think of it as having two sections. In natural lighting, the upper lip will be shaded more darkly, the lower lip will be catching light from above. You should avoid having a heavy dark outline around the outside of the lip. It makes the person that you're sketching look like they're wearing lip liner. You can have a dark heavy line at the center where the lips come together. You should also try to shade a little bit around it, so show the shadow underneath the lip, and you'll see some shadows above the lip, so put that in too. When drawing a lip in profile, it's okay to draw a heavy line for the outside edge. You can draw a heavy line for the center line, but you really want to avoid an outline, a strong line at the top of the lip or the bottom. Try to show it just with shading. It's also useful in profile drawing to actually line your pencil up with the lip on the photograph and capture that angle and then draw that angle on your paper. That can help you draw the lips more successfully in profile. I'm going to draw some lips from this model, and we're going to start by noticing some of the things I just talked about. First up, you can have a dark line in the middle. Her lips are actually parted, so I'm going to have two lines, one for the top and the bottom in the middle. I'm going to avoid drawing a black line around the upper part of her lip. I'll sketch something in lightly and then try to cover it up with shading, but you don't want to have a heavy black line there. Here you can see the lip is just about the same lightness and darkness as the skin out here, so you shouldn't have any line at all right here, but you might have one along the bottom if the lip rolls over or there's a dark shadow. Also notice how her upper lip is shaded more darkly and her lower lip is lighter, and you can see the roundness of the lip by having a really light area and then gradually going from a white to a light gray to dark. It makes her lips look very full. To start this drawing, I'm going to do the same thing that I did, let's see if I can get this so we don't have a glare, there we go, that we did with the noses, and that's to shade in an area with a light gray. And then you can smooth it out, so you just want to have a nice smooth gray tone like that. Next up, you can lightly sketch where the lips will be. I'm just going to start by looking at the outside edge of her lips. I'm going to make a mark for this spot right here, and then I'm going to go over a ways and make a mark for the other spot on the outside. I'm going to follow the contour of the center of her lip. Her lower lip is pretty much a straight shot. It drops a bit on the edge and then comes up straight across. It drops down a bit and then goes up. Her upper lip, where it opens right here, follows the same contour on the outside. It rises a little bit right through there. Drops down just a touch. And then down to the other lip on the other side. Her upper lip, I don't want to draw a heavy dark outline, but I do want to lightly sketch it in. I'm starting with the middle part. There's a nice little curve there. It goes up to a peak and then drops fairly straightly down to the outside edge. Okay, and her lower lip is pretty full. I'm going to stop sketching right here. I don't want to have a heavy line on that side, so I'm just going to stop, and I'll come over here and continue up. Don't try to draw things you can't see. In the picture, her hand is in the way. I'm actually going to draw her hand crossing the mouth, and I'm going to stop drawing right there. All right, next up, Let's look for places where we have highlights. On the photograph, we can see a highlight on the lower lip, right over here on the edge, and along the top of the lip right here. And this part's fairly light too. So I'm going to go through with my eraser and lighten those areas. The highlights that you see on the photograph you're looking at will probably be in different spots, but just do the same thing, look for them, and erase them wherever you see them. Next step, I'm going to go through and shade areas that seem darker to me. I'm going to start with the middle of her mouth, since that's the darkest area. You probably can't see in the photograph, but she has a couple of teeth that you can barely see. So I'm going to sketch in where those teeth are going. And then they're really dark, so I'm going to shade darkly along the top edge. But I'm going to let it get a little bit lighter where the teeth are. Teeth are like eyes. Remember when we were drawing eyes, and if you look at a person's eyes, sometimes they'll be paper white, but a lot of times they're gray. Same thing with teeth. The teeth are in the mouth, and so if the lips are just barely open, they're not going to be super white. Okay, now her upper lip is quite a bit darker than her lower lip, but it's not as dark as what we have inside the mouth. So I'm just going to go through and shade it with a medium gray. It looks like it gets darker as it goes in towards her mouth, so I'm going to make it darker layer, a darker gray on top. Okay, next up we'll concentrate on the lower lip down here. It's really white, but it quickly gets dark as it goes in towards the mouth. And I can't show you how to draw every single kind of mouth, but I think if you just study and look for where it's lighter, where it's darker, and shade those accordingly, you should be just fine with this assignment. All right. It gets quite dark underneath her mouth, right through here. So I'm going to go through and actually put in that shadow. Lastly, we've got a little bit of a shadow right up here. So I'm just going to quickly sketch in just a little bit above her mouth. And then it's just a bit darker on that side. Build that up darker.